behalf of Jadavpur University Science Club. Today, I shall welcome you to chapter number 6 of Stroke of Insight. Stroke of Insight, it, uh, it is a chapter and it deals with every topic that lies within the periphery of science. Today, we have Irene, Irindi, who is currently a final year student of the CSE department in our university. Irindi is currently placed at D. Shaw and has several academic accomplishments under her belt. Like she has been the Smart India Hackathon finalist in the 2019. So I would request Irindi to please tell something about herself.
That together too.
We're in the end game now.
This is gonna work, Steve.
Hello.
I know it is.
Hello.
Because I don't know.
I'm audible, right?
Yes, nothing audible.
So, my name is Irene, and I'm currently in my final year, pursuing my Bachelor's of Engineering in Computer Science. So, as he already said, I'm going to join D. Shaw as a technical member. So yeah, that is all I have to say.
So first, let me specify about the rules. So basically, it's going to be a question answer session with the speaker, and those who are present as the guests, please, if you have a very long type of a question, write it in the comment section. I will read it out for you. And if you have a short question, please raise your hand so that Shorit can allow you to ask the question. So can we start with the question answer session now? So, Didi, can you share about your D-Show interview experience? Like, can you give the description of the rounds?
Yeah. I think from the moment the session was announced, a lot of people have been asking me on social media about exactly what happened and how I got it. So I think it's a nice question to start it with. Basically, when you guys are at the end of your second years and the beginning of your third years, companies come on campus and to hire interns. So I got hired by that process. Most of the hiring process is quite simple. Initially there is a coding round, which is like the competitive coding, which is basically competitive coding, and then you have 3 to 4 rounds depending on the company. Usually there are 2 to 3 technical rounds, and then there may or may not be an HR round. So after that, I worked for 2 months with Shaw at the end of third year, and then they were satisfied with my work, and that is how I got the job.
So going to our next question. So Didi, can you share what is your next goal regarding? So do you want a steady career in D Shaw, or you are interested in something else, like totally shifting to another domain or work in the technical field?
I cannot be sure at this point, but as far as I know, what I can say currently is that I would like to at the end of the day, my aim is to open a business, to have my own business. So probably I will be staying with Shaw for some time till I get I would like to do some higher education, but as you know, if you want to get a management degree or a degree in finance, those are not as cheap, and so a steady income source from a job is that's what my current plan is, to keep this job and then get my MBA, get my PhD, and my ultimate aim is to open a business someday.
So going to our next question. As Didi, you know that we are basically going for the target is the first years for this type of an event. So generally, according to my experience also, in first years people tend to do a lot of things. For example, if you are from a core branch, definitely you start a bit of coding, or you try to develop other skills or other interests. So can you share about your experience during your freshman year?
So I think if people are doing a lot of things in their freshman year, I think that is the way to go, because nobody has an idea about what the field has to offer, no matter what the field is, whichever branch they are in. So I think people who are exploring all the options, there is a science club, there is a code club, there is an e-cell. So I would actually suggest that go and explore all the options that is there. Take the first 2 years to explore and come up with your goal, because this college is so vibrant and there are so many opportunities. You can explore all there is to offer, all the domains where you can ultimately work with your degree. My first year, see, I'm not a very academic or studious person, right? So I remember my first year, what I did was me and my group of friends, we used to travel all around Kolkata. We were members of all the clubs, and we would go there and we would try to see what's it all about. And I think that helped. We would try to like work under a number of sirs, do a number of projects, and a lot of which we never really completed. But I think it gave us the opportunity to explore all the options that was available. As a result, like the next 2 years, we had a very clear idea about our goals, and we were very focused with those goals. So the first 2 years we spent exploring, and the next 2 years we were I was focusing all my efforts on the target that I set for myself.
So a very detailed explanation regarding what the question was. So Didi, can you just, we all know that you were the finalist in the Smart India Hackathon 2019. So can you just share and throw some light regarding the process, how the Smart India Hackathon takes place, what were your preparations and the motivations behind? Like when you participate in a competition, you have definitely some kind of motivation. So can you just throw some light on that?
I think the motivation was our goal was we participated in every, we were a group of friends and we participated in every competition, because the coursework is kind of easy enough, and we just wanted to do everything. So at that time we were working under our teachers, and we were learning different technologies, and we wanted to explore those technologies in a real world scenario. For example, I was at that point doing like web development, Android app development, and that's what I contributed to the project. In terms of how to participate in this Smart India Hackathon, I think it happens once a year, and the preliminary round is you submit a PPT of there are various problem statements, right? And you participate in either one of the problem statements. You submit your solution to the problem statement. Based on the solution you submit, you get selected. And then, like in pre-COVID times, what happened is you go to a campus and you spend 2 days, I think it was around more than 24 hours, whole night you work on it, you come up with the product, the judges see your product, and that's how you're judged.
So basically we have to develop a prototype, right, for the competition?
Yeah, on spot you had to develop a prototype. In order to participate or get clearance for this round, what you needed was just like write up material or code, or you understand, you don't of course if you have a working prototype it helps to generate results, but it isn't really a necessity.
Yes, thanks for the insights. So a very popular question, from the students basically belonging from core branch, like the CSIT giants that come for recruitment in our university, they basically do not set any barriers. Like every branch of students have to clear a basic test in coding for the screening test, what they call. So they have to clear that, and they have to enter. So Didi, can you throw some light regarding this? How's the screening test, how we have to prepare for the rounds of the giant software companies or the product-based companies?
See, I think, let's be honest, if you're not from CSIT, there is a barrier, because they are very focused. They will interview you, and they will go through every single line that you've mentioned in your CV to see if you are worthy of what you have written, or if it's made up or not. Even if you have a 5-star, but you if you do not come across as someone with exceptional problem solving abilities, you will not be selected. I think it adds a certain amount of boost. Maybe it makes your CV look more attractive, like in a bunch of CVs your CV might come up. But I think more than that, what's important is that your CV is very dynamic. Like you have tried a lot of things, that you have tried a lot of domains, that you have put yourself out there. I think that's more important than having a 5-star or a 3-star. It's not that important.
Okay, thank you. So we are going to our next question. So we know that internships generally come during the 3rd year. When you are for a product-based internship, generally come in the 3rd year. So my question is that what part do the projects that we are pursuing, or any coursework we are doing, what part they play for our selection in the internship?
I think they like this is the thing. I think they play. I think this would be like to clear the screening round. You have to be good at writing code fast. You have to be good. You have to have some practice in competitive coding. But like all of you have cleared joint entrance, you know that there is a pattern and a trick that if you practice enough questions of that type, you will be able to do it. It does not need that deep an insight. Like it's a screening test, and it justifies its name. It's just a screening. You can like there's a loophole around it. If you do these books, if you do the courses on Geeks for Geeks, you will be able to do it. On like, but the interviews, I think they are very thorough processes. They will like if you are having 2 to 3 technical interviews, they will grill you, and each of these interviews are almost like 40 minutes to an hour long. So they will really test if you are good at problem solving, how well you think. You have to be a good thinker. You have to be someone who can break down problems and solve it. You might not know every algorithm there is. You might not know all the techniques because you have just completed your second year, right? They don't expect you to know a lot of technologies or a lot of things, but what they expect from you that you are good at problem solving and you know how to think. Like they will grill you, and you will like it's going to be if you are not good with your basics, they will find you out. Like you can't hide that. Like you have to have very strong basics.
Yes, so thanks for the explanation. So now my question generally will shift to more of that when we have a 4 months barrier for the drive of the placement drive or an internship drive. So during these 4 months, how will a candidate prepare himself?
I think I just said like first you focus on clearing your screening, which involves that you do your competitive programming. There are questions like all of these companies, all the previous questions, like they are available there on LeetCode, on Geeks for Geeks, and all on this website, on these platforms. You will find that there are these interview preparation series. So it's highly recommended that you do those. You do those in a time-bound way. You then do as much as competitive coding as possible. You don't need to focus on doing the very hard like number theory based questions. The questions that come in the screening I would say they are of a medium toughness. You don't have to do the very tough ones, but you need to be able to do the mid-range ones, right? And in a time bound way. So the first focus would be do your competitive coding very well, so that you can clear the screening, so that you can get an interview. So then, in order to prepare for an interview, you have to focus on the core basic CSS subjects. For example, data structures and algorithms. That is very basic. That is like the basic of computer science, like, or in this case, like it's the basic, right? It's like the number system of computer science. And then you move on to computer organization, computer architecture, object-oriented programming. And another thing is, if you're mentioning something in the CV, you should know everything about it. Or if you don't know everything about it, be honest and say it in the interview. Don't lie to them. Like if you lie, they're going to find out. And another thing I would like to suggest is that do a lot of projects. Make your CV very vibrant. Work under your professors. Do a lot of projects. Because if you have a lot of projects, like what happens is then they will start asking you questions about your work, about your projects, and not ask that difficult technical questions. So it's like a trick that all of us do. We do a lot of projects so that we can waste time talking about our projects in the interviews and don't really have to answer technical ones. So yeah, this is all I have to say.
So now proceeding towards my next question. So there is a very age-old dilemma among students that on whether they will go for competitive programming or they will go for software development. Can you throw some light on this?
See, competitive programming is a sport. You don't need to do competitive programming in order to be like successful as a software developer, or even as a researcher, or even if you work in academics. But that like there are like it's a sport, right? But on the other hand, the screening rounds are somewhat like an analogy would be like JEE Mains and JEE Advanced. JEE Mains, in order to clear JEE Mains, you don't have to go to the JEE Advanced level. Competitive programming covers all of these aspects. There is 2 levels, and you have to do the beginner level so that you can clear the screening. you can clear the screening rounds. You don't have to do the extreme parts of the competitive programming. Like it delves very deep into number theory, like most of the questions on CodeChef and all. You don't need to do that.
Learning how to approach these topics. Can you throw some light?
Okay, so this is like I would say this is a kind of a pet peeve of mine. If you guys are in your first year, then this session is targeted towards first year. Don't go for these big terms like machine learning and all these things. Focus on your basics, right? These are buzzwords that are going around in computer science at this point, and if you don't have a sound base, like if you are a first year, what will you probably do in machine learning? You will learn the Python toolkit, and that is what it is. It is a toolkit. It is not a science. You do not have the necessary the knowledge of the basics to formulate or to do machine learning at this point. I would suggest that do not go into all these buzz things. Focus on your basics in your first year, and as you grow, as you learn, if you are genuinely interested in machine learning and deep learning, find a professor and work under him, and he will guide you. You will have you will get real-time experience on it. But yeah, don't focus on learning 5 technologies. Like don't focus on learning Python's toolkit and Java's toolkit of machine learning, and that's a waste of time. Don't do it. Like I am very against it. Like focus on your maths, focus on your probability right now if you want to be good in machine learning. And then there's a lot of time left to learn the technologies and code it out.
Thanks. My next question is that how will you compare classical machine learning and quantum machine learning, keeping in mind the technical revolution?
See, I have no idea. I am not into research. I don't know about machine learning. Classical machine learning, I would mostly say, I think I've done a few work in machine learning, so I would say it's like statistics, but it's statistics with a huge volume of data, and that is where the computer comes in, because computer can process that huge volume of data. It's like curve fitting, or like if it's like finding out probabilities. There's even a theorem called there's a Bayes classifier, which basically is a Bayes theorem. So yeah, it's maths and it's statistics. It's hardcore maths and hardcore statistics. Probably in quantum machine learning, which I'm not at all familiar with, it's more hardcore maths and statistics. So that is what I'm saying. Focus on your maths and statistics now, and think about all of coding these later, or find a professor and work under him diligently. Companies might set a cutoff of around 8. 7.5 is decent. I would suggest that all of you try and maintain a 7.5 GPA. 8 is preferable, but 7.5 is all right. Do not have any backlogs. That is it. It's just a qualifier.
So now consider.
Guys can score more, so try and score as much as you can, right? We're all copying, so copy harder than last time.
So that was a very type of spontaneous, very spontaneous statement that we are all.
Yeah, let's be honest, right? We are all going to score way more than we should be scoring. So.
Yes, definitely. Yes, a very student-like friendly reply from Didi in this case. Now, can you just tell them how helpful were your departmental professors were for the research opportunities, or when you went to seek any help from them regarding the research or any placement?
Yeah, I think in terms of placement, teachers were not helpful. It was mostly our seniors, like the code club seniors. They were there. They gave us all the guidance. In terms of research, I really don't have much idea, because I am not someone. I realized earlier on that research is not the thing for me, and so I really have no idea there. I'm not the right person to answer.
This is just a very informal type of a question regarding this. So, how was your campus life? How was your 4 years in JU?
Out of the 4 years, we have officially 2 years of it. Almost 2 years were taken away. So the rest of it was really fun, and it was really fun. It's a very chilled atmosphere. You are allowed to do whatever you want to do. If you can choose from a variety of avenues, and the best part is there is opportunities in every avenue. If you want to go into research, I can say for CSE that there are amazing professors and a lot of amazing research is going on under each of the professors. If you you have great opportunity to have publications in very, very respectable journals. So in terms of research, that is there. In terms of placement, yeah, all the big companies are coming. That's the bonus, right? That's the value of JUs. So like that is it. I got a lot of opportunities. I made the most of them, and overall, I made a lot of friends. It was, yeah, I think it was a very nice experience, and I'm sad that we could not enjoy the last of it.
So, Didi, just can you elaborately describe the Code Club, or what are the opportunities, what are the kind of competitions, what are the engagements of the Code Club?
See, I think when we were like we were first years or second years, the seniors that were there, they used to organize, like they were like weekly classes. They used to held classes, like, and during the events like Sprigen and all that, there used to be coding competitions. And also, like, there is a culture, and you find a community of people with similar goals. That always helps, right? Because if you are stuck somewhere, you can always contact someone. The Code Club was such a community of where if you needed help in competitive programming, no matter what the level, they were there, and they guided us through the placement process. I don't know what happens right now, because I have no idea who like about the students who are now in charge of Code Club. Yeah, so that is what happened during our time.
So basically, we know that in our Tech Fest, the Srijan, there are basically 3 types of coding events we organize. Can you explain, that is how to ace through the events, or how to clear the prelims, or
I think the competitions on CodeChef, HackerRank, and they hold competitions, right?
Preparation you need to.
Yeah, like it's a sport. Competitive programming is a sport, and if you want to be good at a sport, you have to practice the sport. The way to practice here is through HackerRank, CodeChef, those kind of competitive coding platforms. There are many dedicated competitive coding platforms, right? Make an account anywhere, do it, practice as much as you can, and like then track your progress.
Dish, or like what do they exactly do there? Do they program software or something?
Yeah, like what I did was I programmed the software. It was an internal software. I think it was an internal software. There are like various levels there also. Some people are actually working in like the real time algorithms which are used in investment. I would be joining the systems department, so I take care of the systems software and all that. So what I did for my internship was make a systems software, like an internal software. So there are groups, and there is a web development group. I think the other guy who was selected from here, he was in the web technologies group. So he did something different. So based on that, right.
I see. And suppose in a company like Dish, if you want to climb up the ladder, it's basically an investment management company, right? So
yeah,
does a person need to take some extra courses like in financial mathematics or kind of
no,
MBA like courses?
I don't think so. I think like the best example probably would be my mentor, who was also a senior of JUCSE. He is climbing. He has had a lot of promotions. Like he's 4 years senior from me, and he is up there. He does not have like any other degree or diploma post his bachelor. He just works very hard. He puts out the output. Of course, like, let's be honest, of course, if you have a master's degree, it helps. Like we all know, having a master's degree increases your salary. It helps, but it's not the end of the world if you don't have it. You can like, it helps. If you don't have it, you probably have to like put in more effort, or it will take longer time. That is all.
So now,
Okay.
can we expect questions from the audience? Audience, are you up for questions for the interactive session? If you have questions, you can unmute yourself.
Didi, I'd like to ask a couple of questions. And the first question is, how do we approach the teachers regarding these projects or whatever is needed to, boost up our CV?
So what we did is we walked into the teacher's room and we said, ma'am or sir, we want to work under you. Is there, do you have that kind of a vacancy? So and right now you cannot do it. The next best option is to either send them a mail or just call them up and say, I want to work on a project under you. I saw your profile on the JU website. I am interested in what you do, and I was hoping to work under you. It's as simple as that. Don't be afraid. They will not be rude or mean to you. If they don't have a vacancy, they will probably guide you to another teacher themselves.
Didi, and secondly, I'd like to ask, number theory, as you said, is not necessary for all interviews or say web development or whatever coding competitions. So, what do I need to like study from maths or number theory, and where is it needed, if needed at all?
Like number theory or maths is actually not really needed anywhere. If you want to work in the corporate sector, it's not needed like that. It's not even needed in web development and all that. It's needed if you're into research, if you're doing like ML or deep learning or all of these core research processes. They are maths heavy. Like for example, let's say a classifier, which like in ML, a classifier it's going to classify data set into say 2 categories. Basically, what is happening in the background of the classifier is maths, right? So if you are going to go into research, then only you have to focus on maths, probability, statistics, and like you will like that is where it works. In corporate, you don't really need that much of maths.
Thank you, Didi. That's all from my side.
Didi, hello.
Hello.
Yes, Didi, I have one question that if we want to join software development engineer, then which subjects are more crucial other than software engineering? Is it competitive programming?
Competitive programming is like what will help you to get screened. I think focus on your data structures and algorithms, focus on operating systems, because these are the things that you will be working on a day-to-day basis. Focus on because like memory management is a big issue, and like that is like you can learn web development and all. Like you should be proficient like in a programming language. These are the basic things that you have to be good at problem solving, right? And then when you go there, if you are very good in your basic subject, right, you can learn a new technology very easily. You can learn a new programming language very easily if you are very adept in a basic programming language like C or C++. I can guarantee that somebody who is very confident in C and C++ can learn any of the new programming languages in a week or under a week. So focus on doing the basic things, like focus on your data structure and algorithm, focus on your operating system, your object-oriented programming, your computer organization architecture. These are the basics. Then you can move on to like networks and all. That is also very domain specific, or internet technologies. That is also very domain specific. And if you find yourself interested in that domain, very well, go for it. If you're not, focus on your basics, and as and when you understand what you're interested in, focus on that.
Okay, Didi.
Okay, next. Anyone?
Hello? Hello? Am I
you're
audible?
audible.
Yes, you are
you're
being audible. Yes, go ahead.
What should we do in our first year, at least?
Are you from CSE?
No, I'm from non-tech.
Okay, if you are from a non-CS branch, then, and if you want to work in IT, then the course is you have to first focus on your competitive programming so that you are able to clear the first round. In order to clear, if you are doing competitive programming, through that process only you will develop some idea of data structures and algorithms. So what you should do right now is do competitive programming, focus on data structures and algorithms. Then if it's possible, I don't know if CS teachers take non-CS students as research, like for projects or not. If it is, then it's fine. Otherwise, I would suggest participate in competitions so that you have something to fill your CV with. You can always work on open source projects and all, right? So yeah, first is do some bit of CP and data structures and algorithm, and then try to get more projects into your, like, fill your CV. Do stuff to fill your CV. It should not be an empty CV.
And when should I do the projects?
Start on your first years and second years, so that by the time when you're in your third year and these interviews are coming up, your CV is filled and you have a body of work that you can show for yourself. Like, what happens is, if you're working in a project, it's more likely that you're working with more than one technology, you're working with more than one student, like you're working in a team. It really shows that you have a lot of like real-time work experience rather than theoretical knowledge. So focus on doing projects if it's possible. Do it under your own teachers if you cannot do it with CS1.
Okay, thank you.
Didi, a question has come. Can I read it out? So I'm telling that if someone wants to participate in Google Summer of Code, how should he or she prepare regarding that?
I think I am not a good candidate because I never tried and I never got it. I think the best I could suggest one people, like you can like people who have actually got Google Summer of Code. I think like I'm speaking to the organizers, get someone like that. There is Rohit Chattopadhyay, Preeti Shaw, this Prasenjit. These are from our batch and they have done GSOC. They have aced GSOC. There's Imran Alam. You bring in those people, and so that, like, this is an entire thing in itself, and we should do justice to that.
Didi,
Yes.
Didi, I have one question. You told that you should approach the professors to get more exposure about the projects. What should be our role on those projects? Actually, we don't know the theories only.
No. You develop softwares. Most of the cases, it leads to a publication. You do everything about the project. In fact, I would suggest, like, if some professor is asking you to assist a research scholar in a particular project, I would suggest you to steer away from them. Go to a professor that is giving you the complete control of your work, because that will allow you to learn more and also like learn more. Ultimately, if you can get a publication, you will have more credit to that publication. So yeah, try to get something like that.
So someone is asking here that are major product-based companies open to lower branches? By lower branches, I think he or she has given a very vague term, lower branches. So how do we interpret?
I don't think there is a lower branch. Let's take it this way. If it's like a core mechanical job, will CS people ever stand a chance? I don't think they would, right? So of course it is, because their course is different and your degree has some values in a field. What has happened currently is that there is like, it's more economically feasible to be working in IT or CS. It does not mean that your branch is lower. That being said, like I think I answered this before. If you want to work in IT and if you don't have a CSIT degree, it will always be a disadvantage. Like if two people have the same capabilities and one is from CSIT and other is not, always the person from CSIT will be chosen because that was their degree, right? They were educated in that field. That is it.
So,
like honestly.
Here, Orkharbabu Acharya has placed a question that what are the appropriate study materials for operating systems?
I think I forgot the name of the author. I don't know. There is one famous book. There are slides also available of that book. Whatever the teacher was teaching, so I don't remember the name of the book. The most famous book in operating system, whatever that is, you go through that book. That book is amazing. If I cannot remember, there is a dinosaur logo, right? In the slides there is a dinosaur logo. This is all I can remember. So sorry, but it's like the most famous one. It's very common. If I remember the name, I'll sure give it to you. I don't remember right now.
Rahul Shah here has placed a question that we know that quantum computing is surging day by day. So what are your views on the classical software industry next 10 or 20 years down the line?
See, I don't know about quantum computing. See, let's be honest. Like I am very focused on my goal. My goal is to like open a business. I am very much into finances and business management. I took up this job so that I can finance myself. Being very honest here, I don't know about quantum computing and all. That being said, let's face it, CS is a very dynamic field. Technologies that are in vogue today won't be in vogue tomorrow. So yeah, everything is bound to change. What the programming languages that were used 5 years back, nobody is using them now. But that being said, the basics remain same, and like that is it. You either learn or you are thrown out, you are kicked out. You have to learn the new things or you are
Yes,
kicked
yes.
out. There's more than enough people to replace you.
Like in our curriculum, we had Fortran, especially those belonging to civil engineering batch they have. So now Fortran hardly finds any application in
Yeah.
the field. So, is that book on operating system is by Galvin Silverhats?
Yeah, I think that is it.
Yes,
Does
yes.
it have a dinosaur? I think it's Galvin. Yeah, I think
Galvin
it's a book by
Silverhats,
Galvin.
Yes. So, can you share the insights that if someone wishes to participate in ICPC, how he or she will prepare?
See, also I am not a good candidate here. I would suggest like you talk to somebody like Dibbojyoti Dhor from our department, from my batch. He is equipped there. I am the kind of person who has gotten a job. That's it. I was very focused on my goal and I did nothing else outside.
The question has come that what are the things, so for example, if we are mentioning that we have worked for this type of project in our CV, then what are the things the interviewer or the recruiters will ask regarding that project in the round? Can you
They
share
will ask
some
you
details?
everything about that project, how much your contribution, whether if you have worked and how, if you understand what you have worked in, or how much exactly you contributed, whether you have used these these technologies as a black box, or you understand their mechanisms or not. If you are mentioning something, know everything and everything and anything about it. Otherwise, don't mention it because it will land you in trouble then.
Thank you. Orchishman has asked that what is the difference between getting internships in tech-oriented roles and the sitting in placements for those in the same roles in our final year. For example, when you are doing an internship, we generally get in the third year.
There is no
Yeah, so
difference.
what is the difference
If you get an internship for 2 months, you will get paid. And if you are in the good companies, they pay 1 lakh a month. You will get 2 lakhs. That's the benefit. If you get a PPO, then your third year and fourth year, you are completely changed. You don't have to sit for the placements. You have a lot of money. You don't. You're just, it gives you peace of mind and like a considerable sum of money in your bank account. That's the difference. Once you join, it's all the same.
Sorry Didi, to interrupt, but I wanted to actually mean what is the difference in approach of both those things? I mean, which one is more easier?
Difference in approach is nothing. For the for the internship interviews are easier because you are you have just completed your second year. They do not expect as much from you as if you're sitting for an FTE. While sitting for an FTE, the competition gets way tougher. Your course is almost finished. They expect a lot from you. The competition is more tough. And also in terms of, you will be under a lot of pressure. You will be under a lot of pressure because time is running out, right? So I would suggest that if you can get an internship, it will be really beneficial for you because it will be easier. Like what happens? Internship interviews are easier because then they will be judging you for the next 2 months. And if they're hiring you as an FT, they will have to judge your capability within the 4-hour interviews, right? So the interviews are way more thorough and way more difficult than the internship interviews.
So how should we prepare for internship interview?
Like internship interviews, that's what I said. I've been saying, do your competitive programming, do your data structures and algorithm, build your CV, whatever you have been taught in class till then. If you are from a CS branch, be very adept in those things, right? That is it. You have to be the scope of questions is very less, but the level of understanding, the more the better.
Thanks.
Another question that when someone is preparing for SD, So what are the some subjects that he has to put his maximum focus in?
On everything, I guess. If you are going to crack an FT like of a big company like Amazon or Microsoft, it's not going to
No,
be
Didi,
easy.
it is SD, software development, SD,
Yeah.
not AD.
Yeah, SD. If you are going in, like if it is for the like during the placement, if it's like the hiring season and not for an internship, right? Then it's going to be way more tough. Like it will be the same. Like it's the same thing. It's competitive programming and your CS subjects. But now at this point, the level of competitive programming will be tougher. The CS subjects, there is more added because now you have completed your course and there is a lot more scope from which they can ask you. Now you have had 4 years. They will expect more, like your body of work has to be more, because the people you're competing with will have more body of work. Like some of the students in our class had 8 to 9 publications by the time they have completed their 4th year. Now you have to compete with some with people like that, but when they were in their 2nd years, they did not have it. That's it. It's just that the competition gets tougher because everybody is improving.
Yes, sir. Obrojyoti Sen is asking that he is planning to do higher studies in management, but he had to make a CV very vibrant. So, what should be done in order to make the CV useful for?
Like if you want to do higher studies and if you don't want to sit like you don't have to do your job. Like if you want to directly CAT, if you want to give, you can give. It's not a big deal. But that being said, CAT, the level of competition in the CAT entrance, like for the IIMs, is almost like your J advanced, like right. So that is a whole different ball game, and that requires like a year of preparation, like concerted, focused preparation, at least of a year. And besides that, even after you get a very high percentile, the interview sessions are grueling. They ask you very nuanced questions about various different like domains, and that requires a completely different like preparation. Different preparation you have to do. That's different, right? If you're sitting for CAT, then that's like a national level joint entrance examination. That's way more difficult than getting an internship or an FT.
So now I would request the audience, if they have some more things to know, you can definitely ask it. Okay, Arjun Mollik has asked that Didi, could you please suggest anything regarding data science and ML regarding jobs, internship, etc.?
Data science and ML, do that course on Coursera, the machine learning and deep learning course on Coursera. That is what everybody does. That is very in depth, to be honest. Like Andrew Ng course, do that course. That is the best.
So does anyone from the audience want to ask?
Didi, I have one more question. We are not getting to see our teachers like anytime soon now. So how do we actually ask them for projects and ask them if any projects are available? Do we just like mail
call
them?
Just call them up. Just call them. Don't even mail them, because there's a possibility they might not check the mail. Call them. Don't hesitate. Like our teachers are very friendly. To be honest, they are very friendly. They're not like teachers. Call them up and tell them honestly, like, this is my interest. This is what I know. This is what I want to learn. And if they don't have a vacancy, they will like guide you towards another professor.
Okay, thank you.
Didi, can you share some insights regarding your future business?
I haven't really planned like that. Like my plan, I love computer science, and I realize that it is a very personally think that it is what is going to replace mathematics. As of now,
Didi,
I
your
don't know what will
connection is a
happen
bit
in the future.
erratic.
As of now,
You are getting
I
cut
want
off.
to get an MBA, and then yeah. Can you hear me now? Hello.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Am I
Yes,
audible
yes,
now?
yes.
Yeah. So, like as I was
Yes,
saying,
yes,
I
you are
don't
audible.
really know
Yes.
exactly
Yeah, you're audible.
what I will do, but I want to move into finances and business. That is like what I have in mind currently. I don't know what happens in the next 5 years if I want to stay in academics or not. If I will.
Anyone wants to ask further questions?
Yeah, I have a question. During
Yes,
the
please.
placement season, when the companies come, do they hire only for software development roles, or do they have other roles like web development, intern, or something like
Yeah,
data science?
they have a lot of different roles. SDE is definitely the most common role. Like there are two kinds of companies, right? There is a product-based company and there's a service-based company. The product-based companies are the ones that pay you more, and service-based companies are the ones that pay you less. Right. So yeah, within the product-based companies, when you are being hired as an intern, I don't think you really get to say that much about the domain in which you're going to work. I think which is also a big reason that a lot of people don't really want to be an SD, don't really see themselves as an SD, because they don't have any any power to decide in which domain they will be working. That is why a lot of people prefer to do higher studies or go into research, because they're uncomfortable in knowing that they don't know where they're going to work, right? So that being said, I think most companies hire SDs. You can have some companies that come in with specific roles, but I think the biggest companies that are going to pay you the most, you're going to be hired as an SD, and then you will be randomly placed in like different teams. That's out of your hand.
Okay, so even the SDs are divided into groups in the companies. They don't have the same
Yeah,
job.
once you join, there will be different teams. And also being said, you can jump from one team to the other. At least in deals, or you can. I don't know about the big, like the other big ones like Amazon or Microsoft. There is always the scope for that. If you have an interest in a different team, I think that depends on the employer, and that depends on the management, and like what is the culture in that company. But yeah, see, nothing is the end of the world. Okay, most of us, most of you, if you join a company, like this is your first job, and like in a year or two you will be shifting companies. There will be some kind of emotion, like this will not be your last, this is not the last job, this is just the first job. And what you should focus on the first, if you are going to work in corporate, is that you join a big name, because that is like just like the way you join Jadavpur, because it has a brand value. Joining a big company has a brand value, even if you're not very comfortable in that domain. And once you make use of that brand value, you can use that brand value to go into like the specific domain where you. Am I like? Did that make sense?
Yeah,
মানে দিদি মানে
kind of.
ডিগ্রির নাম যেটা যেমন যাদবপুরে আছে ওরকম একটা ব্র্যান্ড ভ্যালু, তাই তো?
হ্যাঁ, আমি বলছি যে ওটাই, যে ইনিশিয়ালি এটা তো ফার্স্ট জব, তো ইট ইজ নট দ্য এন্ড অফ দ্য ওয়ার্ল্ড. You will do like in a year or in 6 months you can change your job. But I would suggest that as a fresher you're joining, right, you don't have any work experience. So as a fresher it is very important that you join a big company with a brand value, কারণ তোর কোনো work experience নেই. The moment you have work experience, you can leverage the work experience. Right now as a fresher you have no leverage because you have no work experience.
So a very interesting question here by Shoikat Samanto. Didi, do you want to come back to JU in future as a professor? A very
See, I don't think I am cut out for teaching, because I'm not very patient. That professor at Jadavpur is very respectable, and it's a very let's be honest, if you're working in corporate and if they are paying you more than $1 lakh a month, it's not going to be easy. You're going to be having 8 to 9 hours, like 9 hours of working a day. Compared to that, if you are a professor, it's way more chilled. Your job is way secured. It's a different kind of life. And I don't know, maybe when I'm 40 or 45, or if like we don't know, if I can no longer take the pressure, maybe I'll take it. But then I need to have adequate degrees. Like all our professors have PhDs, like they all have that. So I cannot just want it. I have to be qualified.
It's some research experience, like you have to have some papers published in the university.
All of our
it's
teachers
a very grueling
have
job.
They have
very
such
grueling
a
job.
huge body of publications in such respectable journals. Like
Yes,
it's
yes,
not
yes.
that easy as well.
and so any more
Okay,
questions?
I have another. Yeah. I have another question. In the corporate, does a generalist get any advantage over a specialist? Say if we have a person who is like very good at, let's say, let's say data science. He's very good at data science versus a person who knows a decent amount of data science and he also knows some software development also, and he knows how to communicate, get the clients, and he also knows a bit of web dev. Does he get
Yeah.
any advantage?
See, I think if you are joining in like the lowest rung, we are going to join in the lowest rung in the corporate ladder. I think it is preferable that we are not very rigid in our knowledge, that we are flexible in what we know, right? Like that will help you, because we are in the lowest category and we will not have the luxury to choose our domain. So it is better that you have like some idea. Important is you have the basics and you can learn anything very quickly. I think that is what sets a person apart, how quickly you can learn. Because see, if you are taking more time to learn, that means they're investing more time in you, and time is money, right? So if
Yeah.
you are a quick learner, that helps that helps tremendously.
Okay, and can you like debunk this myth of CTC? Like, that's not your actual salary. Like, when someone says, I have got
Yeah,
40
of course
LPS
it's not your actual
so
salary.
what does it
People who are-
include?
Yeah, it includes a lot of things. If somebody see, even the IIT guys, nobody is getting paid more than 2 lakhs a month. Okay, no fresher is getting paid to. If your job is in India, nobody is getting paid more than 2 or 2.5 lakhs a month. So all these 42 lakh packages or whatever 36 package, nobody is getting paid 3 lakhs. The ceiling is like 2 to 2.5, or in terms of JU, it's probably 1 to 1.5. That is the is like there's a like whole scheme of things that once you get there you'll understand.
Okay, and do FANG companies come to JU to hire people? Like,
Yeah, out of FANG, like Google doesn't come, Facebook doesn't come, Amazon comes.
and Didi, how do you view the like impending danger of automation? Like, narrow AI is booming, and these low-level software dev jobs will just vanish.
if you are in CS, are you in CS?
No, I'm in ETC.
Yeah, that is why you're asking this question. Like AI or automation? It's nothing. It's like it's just statistics, but it's being done faster because it's a computer and it can process a huge volume of data. Who is generating this data? Human. Who is operating these mathematical systems? It's a human who is operating them and like maintaining them. So humans, like for example, if when computers, people thought like people who are typewriting, they will become obsolete. No, technology creates, as it takes away jobs, it also creates jobs. And if you want to be employable, you have to continue growing. You cannot expect, like if I was someone who joined the industry 40 years back, and back then we were just taught Fortran. If I said like I will not learn any other programming language, will I still be employable? No, right? You have to grow.
So basically, you have to update, like with the change in the course, we have to update ourselves.
Yes.
Can you just again mention that book for DSLGO, because that was coming from somebody.
Yeah, that is the author's name is Karumanchi, and either it's named Algorithms or it's named Data Structure and Algorithms. Use Karumanchi and Algorithms, you will get the.
I think yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we are being yes, you are being audible.
Yeah. It's fine. Like
Your voice is a bit faint, I think.
Yes, bit faint, but still audible, right?
Yeah, kind of. Okay.
Still audible.
No, she's not audible. I think she has some network issue.
yeah, I am. I can hear you guys.
Yeah. Okay, now you're audible. Okay, Shomalu, do we have any other questions? Or do we end?
So I searched everything. So I hope that now that we have run out of questions. Right? So the lively and interactive the session was. Perhaps we have been able to cover each and every domain of the job. Not each and every, we have been able to do the max. So hopefully no one has any further questions. If anyone has by chance, you can easily unmute yourself and ask. No problem in that. Yes, Divyanshu Thakur, this meeting is recorded. If you have got any technical issues, we will definitely upload it in YouTube, in our official channel. Right. So,
Okay,
if
so let's
anyone,
wrap up here. Let's wrap
yes,
up.
it's a wrap today. Thank you everyone for your patience. Hope that you have able to gather some knowledge, some insight. Like the name of the event is Stroke of Insight. If you have been able to gather the required insights from it, then our endeavor or our goal is successful. And the way we have been able to organize a session with Irene being a really brilliant and guiding our juniors has been really, we have been